You've probably never heard of neuromarketing, and that's totally okay because I'm going to show you in this video how to use it, why to use it, and how to get the best results you can possibly get out of your advertising and marketing efforts. My name's Alex Vonderhaar, and I'm the CEO of Hidden Falls Media, and we're the United States' premier neuromarketing agency. So what you need to understand is that you can't utilize neuromarketing until you have your foundations of marketing, advertising, and business development locked in and ready to scale. Once you reach that point, that's when we can really amplify the results and really get the results that you're looking for, whether that's new customers, new leads, better product design, better pricing strategies. That all falls into our model. And we actually have three main pillars of our model that we use to help get you results in any industry and any size of scale that you're looking to hit. It's a lot like going to the gym, especially for all the guys out there that are on the testosterone replacement therapy trend or TRT. You can't really get the big muscles unless you're going to the gym, eating right, drinking water, and doing all the things that you need to do anyway from the beginning. Once we have those foundations built, when taking extra replacement or extra supplements, that's when we start to see those crazy results. And it's very similar to that inside of neuromarketing and how advertising, marketing, and business development can be your foundation, and leveraging neuromarketing as that additional kick that you really need to get those hidden gems and discover what that next level really looks like. So neuromarketing is kind of new, but it's also not. Back in the 1980s, when we started to really get fMRI or functional magnetic resonance imaging machines up and moving, big Fortune 100 companies like Amazon, Nike, Apple, they all started paying these research labs to study how blood was flowing inside of the brain. And we can tell by these imaging techniques what attracts your customers, what keeps them engaged with your products, how we can create brands that are memorable, what marketing copy or messaging actually works and which ones don't. We now have the science to back all of that up. We can even track using infrared eyeglasses where your eyes are looking on product shelves or on websites or in apps, and all these big companies are using it. But kind of like Robin Hood, we are stealing from the rich and bringing to the poor, except you guys are the ones that benefit from it because all of this research has sat on academic shelves for decades. And our goal is to bring that down to you guys at a simple level so you can implement today and get the results that you're looking for down the road. How do we know that this works? Well, we've used it for the last 5.5 years on hundreds of businesses all around the world, and they're all leveraging these neuromarketing techniques to get them to that next level. And while we can't say exact numbers because of FTC compliance, a lot of them are still using these techniques today, and they're able to scale successfully because of it. So in today's video, we're going to hop into the three main models that build all neuromarketing principles. This is the first of its kind. Nobody has ever sat down and done this because most academic researchers don't get paid to do this. It's left up to independent business owners just like me and you to be able to get the results and build these models into the next level. And that's exactly what we're going to do. There's actually three main pillars: people, product, and process. But before I get into all of this and we go through my horrible handwriting, I want to show you how this all started. So like many of you, we all have these incredible ideas of how we want to build models, how frameworks actually work. And first principle thinking tells us we need to start at the basics and ask ourselves why over and over and over again until we actually find the right answer. And I was actually on a plane back from Washington, D.C. when I was figuring out this model, and I was ripping it apart, figuring out what is the true foundational or first principle thinking behind all of this. And we were going through, I was like, do we start with a website? Do we start with product and service in our offering? Is it messaging and branding? Is it acquisition and retention? And I was like, no. We need to kick it back to the human level because ultimately all marketing revolves around human psychology and how humans are interacting with your brand and your products and your service. So then we got into, okay, well, is it UX? Is it UI or user experience, user interface? Are we talking about how sticky products are designed and packaged and processed? Or are we thinking behavioral looping and optimization, which is some crazy neuroscience stuff that we'll get into later? Or is it more around how people are believing things and how we kind of hijack the belief systems inside of our brains? But that still wasn't it. So we got down into the three Ps: our people, our product, and our process. And ultimately, all neuromarketing principles can fit inside of this triangle. We have our people, who we're engaging with, and this also includes our brand. We have our products and how are they packaged? What's the wow experience? Are they sticky? What's our pricing look like? And then we have our process inside of there of how do we actually deliver what we say we're going to deliver and then push that to next level scaling. And this is why I was saying earlier, before we can actually implement neuromarketing, we have to have our key principles of advertising, marketing, and business development in place, because otherwise we're going to break our triangle. And even though triangles are the best shape in the universe because they're the most sturdy, most secure, hardest to break, systems and models and frameworks can still break if we're not building off of a strong foundation. So let's get into the people side, the first part of our triangle. A lot of neuromarketing is built around messaging and branding and how we can actually communicate the best subconsciously and consciously with our ideal client profiles. And then we can starting to stack this and say, okay, now we've got our messaging and our branding, because that's what's going to actually attract for client acquisition and our retention of keeping the clients that we've paid for. It's 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than it is to retain one. So when we're looking at our messaging, it's not just what we call our top of funnel strategy or our front of funnel, but it's also the backside of after the sales process. What are we doing to keep them? How are we keeping them in the honeymoon phase and out of the what have you done for me recently phase, like every business owner goes through? We've all bought a product where, wow, it's great. We love it. We're super hyped about it. And then a few weeks or a few months go by and then it's like, well, what is this product or what has this company done for me recently? And it's a dangerous zone to be in. And ultimately what we're trying to do is prevent them from leaving our company and not having any type of lifetime value outside of that one purchase. And this is where we can get into things like behavioral looping, which is where we're training our audience to come back to us over and over again using different advertising and marketing and business development techniques. And then ultimately what we're doing is we're changing the beliefs of our clients. This is where things like core values and mission statements and all the stuff that you think sits inside of a pretty book inside of your HR department, or maybe you hang your core values up on a wall somewhere inside of your business, but you never actually use them. You never actually ingrain them into your clients, and it's because you've never really changed their beliefs. And that's totally okay. In later videos, we'll get into how do you actually do behavioral looping and belief patterning. But today we're just really talking about the triangle and how all of this works together. And then that ultimately leads into our audience training inside of our people. Now, once we've got our people dialed in, we can start to look at our product. This is where most people want to start with marketing. They want to market the product, and that's just not how we start. We always start audience first. And when we do that, then we can move into product. From our product, is it sticky? What do I mean by sticky? Is our product worth people holding on to long term? Do they want to consume it over and over again? Or if it's a service-based business like you might have, like I have, what's keeping people inside of your system and inside of your ecosphere while getting results and getting the outcomes that they absolutely crave? And when we do this, we can actually build behavioral loops with dopamine and experiences. And if you've read the book Hooked by Nir Eyal, he actually goes through how you can do this inside of different systems. We're not going to get into all that today. I actually have a podcast with Nir, and we go through that entire thing. And we'll make sure that we link that down in the video notes as well. We also have sensory neuromarketing. This is really cool. I've got a quick story about sensory neuromarketing. When I was first learning the principles of neuromarketing, I was working at a flotation therapy tank center. You know, those big sensory deprivation tanks that are the size of cars? Well, we were trying to figure out how to make the sales process easier after somebody's in a super relaxed state. They're not very emotional. They're actually fairly passive. So we were trying to figure out what sense could we use in order to get people to remember the experience and how great it was. So we started testing different scents that we would put in air diffusers all around the office, and we tried a few different ones to ultimately find the scent that matched the brand, that matched the experience. If you think about going into a mall, for all of you guys that are millennials like I am, I remember walking through a mall when I was a teenager, and the very first thing that you either smell is Auntie Anne's pretzels or you smell one of the Abercrombie or Hollister stores, and that's their version of sensory neuromarketing. They're setting a tone and setting a hook inside of your brain by being able to say this scent is associated with this brand. And the great brands do this really well. Nike shoes smell a certain way. Annie Ann's pretzels smell a certain way. And this is all sensory neuromarketing, because if we were just to throw the scent of an Annie Ann's pretzel at you, you would instantly be able to recognize, no matter where you are in the world, that this is an Annie Ann's pretzel. Pretty cool, right? Now we can get into some pricing. Pricing has a lot of different marketing and advertising strategies inside of it, but ultimately there's been studies done around which type of pricing and how it's actually displayed gets you better results in one way or another. We also craft wow experiences. The best form of marketing that any marketer will always agree on is not a method. It's not anything around, oh, it's SEO or it's ad buying or even it's neuromarketing. The best marketing and advertising campaigns are always built on the same foundation: surprise and delight. And that's how we create wow experiences. If you can surprise a customer with something, or the shock and awe method, if we can surprise them and then get them into a nice emotional state afterwards, you are literally creating multiple wow experiences that are easily rememberable and easily transferable. And that's ultimately how our message gets across. It's the energy that we're sharing with that individual at that time. Then the last thing that we talk about inside of neuromarketing a lot for our products is actually the packaging. What is it coming? Even if it's a digital product or a service, how are you packaging all of that to be able to deliver to the end client that matches your brand, that matches the price point, that matches everything across the spectrum, so we're hitting the best possible outcome and reinforcing that purchase behavior. So we've gone through people, we've gone through product. Now let's go through a little bit of the process. And you can equate this a lot to business development as well, but there's also many other steps inside of here. The deliverability of our product and how that is working through. There's an amazing book called Unreasonable Hospitality, which, even though it's not a neuromarketing book, it talks about mapping out the customer experience in a restaurant, so at every possible method inside of their process, they're delivering excellence. They're delivering that wow experience. They're taking it to a new level, so that way word of mouth marketing, social media marketing, and everything else kind of flows downstream from the deliverability process of food. And it is just all food at the end of the day. But how are we delivering that in such a way that it creates unremarkable experiences and that are over the top and totally unforgettable? This feeds into our user experience and how our users are interfacing with our brand, with our product, and with everything from top to bottom. And this creates feedback loops. And feedback loops inside of the process are probably one of the most important things for marketing and advertising teams. And most of our feedback actually comes from the sales department and from the users themselves. Because if we don't have those feedback loops, we don't actually know that our marketing message is coming across or getting resonance in the way that we think it is. As business owners, we always think that we're the best at what we do and everybody's just going to know it. But if we don't have that feedback loop coming in, we don't know what messaging is working all the time. Even in direct response through your paid ads on Facebook, right? We can look at some of that feedback loop of, are they clicking on certain ads that have certain headlines and then they're using that product later and we're getting the social media feedback? It's way too long of a cycle and we're expecting customers to give us that at any point. And it's just not plausible and it's just not feasible for you guys long term. So how are we designing feedback loops inside of our internal systems to get the response and saying, hey, this campaign's working really well, or this strategy is starting to lead us in a way that's going to cost a whole lot up front, but we see a lot of lifetime value come in on the back end, so it's worth it by taking that upfront cost as opposed to saying, hey, this campaign's getting us half of the upfront customer acquisition cost, but we're really not picking it up on the backside. This is where the feedback loop inside of the process can help us go back to the very beginning with our people. So you see how this all really flows together. Our people will always lead to how we design our products, and our products and the deliverability will always lead back to our process. And from the process, we are constantly iterating and revising and going back through all the ways to help our people out the most. The three pillars, once again, people, product, and process. If you want to change the way you do advertising and marketing inside of your business, my team and I have helped hundreds of businesses all around the US implement these frameworks so that way they can start getting results. If you're interested, click the link below and we'll get somebody to come and help you out.